Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. It's been nearly 4 weeks since Stephen Paddock committed the deadliest shooting in modern American history. Tonight we have brand new exclusive information from a government source given to us just hours ago, and it's remarkable. The Las Vegas security guard, the only eyewitness to this shooting, left this country shortly after it took place. We'll tell you where he went and what it may mean in just a minute. But first, the law of unintended consequences remains in force in Washington tonight. An investigation designed to uncover Republican collusion with a foreign power has unearthed just the opposite. We now know that the most powerful Democratic lobbying firm in Washington was at the very center of Russian efforts to shape American politics and policy. The Podesta Group, founded by Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman and his brother, took money from Russian interests to influence the Obama administration and Hillary Clinton's State Department. It turns out there were indeed Russian agents in Washington. They were working with Democrats.
Nice to see you, my friend. The president says now it all starts to make sense. Is this FBI agent a critical piece of the puzzle?
I'm not sure the FBI agent is a critical piece of the puzzle, but it's pretty clear for a long time that the FBI has its own biases, and to remove those biases would be to paint an impartial, a not complete picture. One of the problems here is that we know that James Comey was basically letting Hillary Clinton off with nothing but a public slap on the wrist. Now we know that another FBI agent who was working on that particular case was biased against President Trump. One of the things I haven't found out from the story, maybe you can tell me, I just don't know, is how we knew that this agent was doing this. If we found it out from Mueller's investigation, then Mueller fired him, then that obviously reflects better on Mueller than if this were an outside force that had found out that this FBI agent was biased against President Trump, and then Mueller had to fire him for no other reason.
Great question.
Portion of the show to that in a minute. But first, it's among the great ironies in recent history, certainly the recent history of American criminal justice, an FBI probe begun to find corruption in government may simply have exposed corruption within the FBI itself. In the last few days, we have learned a great deal about a man called Peter Strzok. Until recently, Strzok was deputy head of counterintelligence at the FBI. For the past 2 years, he was central to investigations into both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Last summer, Strzok was abruptly pulled off Robert Mueller's team of investigators. This didn't become public for months, but it happened. The FBI won't explain why it happened, even when asked directly by the Congress. Now we know it happened because Strzok was sending highly political text messages to his mistress, who also worked at the FBI, messages praising Hillary Clinton and denigrating Donald Trump. Now, why does this matter exactly? Well, because everything about Peter Strzok's job was essentially political. Strzok was the man who signed off on starting the current Russia investigation, one that has totally overtaken the federal government. Strzok was also the official who altered James Comey's statement to avoid criminally implicating Hillary Clinton in her now famous server investigation. In other words, Strzok's political opinions mattered. In fact, they may have changed American history. And to illustrate it, consider this. Consider how Agent Strzok handled 2 different series of interviews in criminal investigations. According to a new piece by Chuck Ross of the Daily Caller, Strzok was the agent who personally interviewed Hillary Clinton's top aides, Cheryl Mills and Huma Abedin, during the server investigation. Government notes from those interviews show that Abedin told the FBI she had no idea that Hillary Clinton was maintaining a private email server, in fact, only learned about it in the media. Mills, for her part, went even further than that. She claimed that not only did she not know about Hillary's server, she had no clue what an email server was. Here's the problem. It looks like both Mills and Abedin lied. In a 2000...
Great question. Our reporting from James Rosen and also Jake Gibson on this was that Comey fired him. I haven't heard exactly how, was that Mueller fired him, exactly how that transpired. As you point out, will be very interesting to figure out. The president saying that the FBI's reputation is in tatters. If everything is political and nothing is sacrosanct anymore, does that become a larger problem for the Republic?
Well, it's certainly a problem when we have no trust in any of our institutions. I mean, the president is at war with the FBI is at war with the president, the president's at war with parts of the DOJ. Right now, it seems like no one trusts any member of any institution, and that means that you're just going to side with the people that you feel best about, the people who you agree with most on policy. There's a poll out today from Alabama showing that a vast majority of members of the Alabama voting public feel that Roy Moore is innocent, not because they actually have verified the facts, but because they don't trust the media. That demonstrates the level of antipathy toward the media, a level of antipathy which I don't think is completely unwarranted. So, yes, as the institutions are torn apart, it's going to be very difficult to put the country back together. We're not operating off the same basis of common facts.
Speaking of institutions, you can also include in those institutions American tradition. One tradition is that former presidents do not speak ill of the current president, especially overseas. Take a listen to President Obama, see if you think he violated that.
Now, I grant you that at the moment we have a temporary absence of American leadership on the issue.
President Obama there talking about...
Mark Steyn is an author and columnist. He joins us tonight. Mark, I want to talk to you because I know that you're an internationally renowned connoisseur of irony. And so how are you responding to this story which was designed to prove collusion between Republicans and Russia and is now proving the opposite?
Yes, because Trump is in the weird position. He says wacky things from time to time, as we all know, but nothing he says is as wacky as the truth here. This is like one of those slightly over high concept thrillers. Agatha Christie's Murder on the Siberian Express. Everyone is colluding with Russia except Trump. Basically, you've got the Podesta group, you've got the Hillary campaign, you've got the DNC, you've got the FBI, you've got Christopher Steele, who you credit as an ex-MI6 agent. He's not just any old ex-MI6 agent. He's the head of the Russia desk at MI6, which is a pretty big deal. And you were talking about campaign finance laws preventing you paying foreign nationals for federal election campaigns. Whatever the scope of those laws, the core people they were designed to prevent getting a hand in American elections were elite high-level espionage agents from foreign powers. So we have a completely and by the way, not just the Hillary campaign, but as you said earlier, Hillary herself. Hillary, who has been touring the world. She's been at obscure little literary festivals on the Welsh border just a week or two ago, complaining that the Russians colluded with Trump to steal the election away with her, and she's colluding with the Russians to issue this dossier against Trump.
Colluding with the Russians and apparently with the peripheral involvement of Paul Manafort, who Democrats have been telling us for the last year is this sinister figure with Russia ties. You know, maybe so, sounds like it. But he was working with the Podesta Group, which is the single most powerful Democratic lobbying firm in the city, of course, founded by Hillary's campaign chairman. I mean, you couldn't make it up.
No, and you know, suddenly a lot of things seem clearer. You talked about the FBI, which is supposed to be a policing agency that operates in the interests of the American people. As you say, it's very odd that an agency with almost unlimited resources compared to any equivalent anywhere on the planet is having to outsource a lot of this stuff and actually use the taxpayers' money to pay this British subject for this wacky report. But to me, one of the most disturbing things about this is you'll recall that the Director of National Intelligence, Clapper, asked James Comey, supposedly, to go and have a meeting with Trump and tell Trump that they've got a dossier explaining how he likes to enjoy highly specialized prostitution services in Eastern Europe, and they've got this dossier. And then the minute they've held the meeting, it mysteriously the news of this meeting gets leaked to the press. And I think it's a reasonable inference that Clapper and Comey only actually arranged this meeting with Trump to tell him of the specialized prostitution services this dossier contains about him. It's a reasonable inference that this meeting took place only so that news of it could then be leaked to the press. That's actually extremely deeply disturbing for the intelligence community and the FBI.
And I would, by the way, I agree with you vehemently. And if they were doing this to President Obama, who I did not like, I would say the same thing. You can't have rogue agencies. It's terrifying. Mark, thank you for that perspective.
Thanks a lot, Tucker.